Hello and welcome. Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas Eve and welcome to the How to Survive podcast Christmas special number 1. What a treat we have for you. It's a veritable Christmas cracker, and under the tree with me is, of course, Joe Sherville.
All right. Your name's a lot like Christmas.
Yes.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Chris Morris is your name.
Yes, that's
and
right.
If you were like drunk, like Chris Morris, could be Christmas.
Yep. And nothing sums up the festive spirit of the season than drunk people loudly shouting my name in the street.
Yeah,
That's happened so often thanks to the success of the How to Survive podcast.
Yeah.
If you haven't listened to
Chris Morris, turn it down.
Yeah.
You don't have to edit through speakers.
Your podcast shit. If you haven't listened to the How to Survive podcast before, then what an odd episode to start with.
Yeah, we really let our hair down because it's Christmas.
Yeah.
There's no form, no structure, no planning.
Well, speak for yourself. This episode is all about a 1994 classic directed by John Pasquin. That's right, it's on the tip of all of your tongues.
John Pasquin.
Yeah. The Santa Claus. A Disney produced film starring Tim Allen and some other actors. It's a festive favourite, Joe. Festive family favourite. Had you seen it before?
No.
Neither had I. What a joy it brought to my life.
Really?
Absolutely.
Did it put you in the festive spirit?
Yeah. Why not? So if you haven't listened to the podcast before, basically what we do is we talk about a film in excruciating, nauseating detail. All of its foibles and details uncovered, unearthed, full of spoilers. So if you haven't seen The Santa Claus, now is your chance to duck out and really treat yourself ahead of the big day tomorrow.
It's on Now TV.
Yeah.
I rented it on Amazon because I didn't know it was on Now TV.
Yeah.
So I paid to see it.
A Christmas fool.
Yeah.
Recapping.
The thing is, right? What are you going to spoil?
Well, let's find out.
The terrible ending where he burns the house down with everyone inside it or something.
Yeah. Recapping The Santa Claus after this.
It was the night before Christmas, and children were dreaming of the presents Santa would bring.
Somebody's on the roof.
But this Christmas Eve,
Hey, you!
the unthinkable happened.
You killed him.
Did not.
Now, this night,
If something should happen to me, put on my suit. The reindeer will know what to do.
it's up to them
Let's go!
to save the day. Together, Scott Kelvin and his son Charlie take on the biggest job in the world.
Looking good, Dad.
And though it has its dangers,
Nice teeth.
he thought it was just for one night.
You're the new Santa.
I am not Santa Claus.
You put on the suit, you're the big guy.
What if I don't buy into this Santa Claus thing?
Scott, a toy salesman, spends Christmas Eve with his son Charlie as his ex-wife Laura is having dinner with her new husband's family. Scott is shown to be self-absorbed, lazy, and broadly disinterested in spending time with Charlie, but does want to preserve Charlie's belief in Santa Claus against the wishes of Charlie's new stepfather, a psychiatrist named Neil.
Is it Christmas Eve or Christmas Day?
I think it's Christmas Eve that they go to Denny's, isn't it?
Yeah. And he's cooking a turkey on Christmas Eve evening?
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Well,
I guess he's not spending Christmas Day with the boy.
Yeah. During the night, Charlie is awoken by footsteps on the roof and wakes his father. Scott rushes outside only to be confronted by Santa Claus, his reindeer, and his sleigh full of presents on the roof of their house. Startled, Santa falls from the roof and lands in a crumpled heap. Rather than raising the alarm or calling for an ambulance, Scott takes a business card from the man which informs him of the Santa Claus, stating, "If something should happen to me, put on my suit, the reindeer will know what to do." At the behest of Charlie, Scott both dons the Santa uniform and boards the sleigh, and as the card suggested, the reindeer gallop off to other rooftops, where Scott delivers sets of Christmas presents, shrinking to fit the size of any chimney. Once all the presents are delivered, the reindeer fly Scott and Charlie to the North Pole, where the sleigh sinks below the ground into Santa's workshop, wherein dozens of elves work away creating Christmas presents.
Lots of elves. Lots of them.
Yeah.
And they look like children, right?
Yes. Yeah, they do. Apart from Bernard, the head elf,
Yeah.
who looks like a sort of adolescent.
Yeah.
And
Strange.
Bernard explains that Scott is now Santa Claus and has 11 months to get his affairs in order before returning to fulfill Santa's obligations and his responsibilities to the world. And this is because on the Santa Claus card, there was some small print which Scott missed, which basically states that if you put on Santa's uniform, you are the incumbent Santa Claus until such time as you're replaced.
Until accident or something else
Yeah.
that renders you incapable.
Yes, something sinister.
Yeah.
Overwhelmed, Scott falls asleep in his new lodgings, only to wake up back at home. Scott assumes the night to all be a strange dream, but Charlie excitedly recounts the story to his classmates, causing Neil, Laura, and his school principal to be concerned about his apparent delusion. Not wanting to crush his son's dreams, Scott instead encourages Charlie to keep their trip a secret and apparently tries to forget about it himself. Unfortunately for him, over the course of the next year, Scott undergoes rapid and disturbing physiological changes, rapidly increasing in weight and growing a huge beard which grows back instantaneously. Scott also acquires the ability to tell whether a child has been naughty or nice, and children seem to know innately that he is Santa, leading Laura and Neil to believe he is deliberately trying to undermine them.
Yeah, the thing to bear in mind is that Charlie, who is the boy, he loves Santa so much through this period that he has Santa posters.
Yeah.
He acts like he's riding a sleigh with reindeer on it all the time.
Yeah, he's the sort of person who would watch the Santa Claus outside of December.
Yeah. And his psychiatrist father is stepfather is justified in his
Concern.
criticism. Yeah.
Meanwhile, his father appears to be fostering this obsession by dressing and making his appearance that of Santa Claus.
But imagine you were the stepfather, and you're like, this kid's loves Santa Claus so much in July. That's a bit weird. And but he loves him so much, and then it's just pathetic that his actual father is dressing up as Father Christmas.
Yeah,
just to curry favour
year round. Yeah. They, being Laura and Neil, successfully petition a judge to suspend Scott's visitation rights for Charlie. Devastated and still not himself convinced he is Santa, Scott goes to Laura and Neil's house on Thanksgiving, where Charlie shows Scott a snow globe that Bernard gave him, finally convincing him that he is Santa. The snow globe is sort of magical. As Scott prepares to leave, Bernard appears and transports him and Charlie to the North Pole. Returning to Neil and Laura's house, this time with presents, Scott is arrested and thrown in jail for apparently kidnapping Charlie, but he is broken out by a crack team of elves. Returning to Laura and Neil's house, he finally convinces them that he is Santa by giving them both presents they secretly craved as children but didn't receive, which broke their belief in Santa.
Yeah. Yes. That's how it works. If you don't get something you want, but you get other things, then Santa Claus can't be real.
Yeah. They both realise Scott was not delusional and that he really is Santa, and Laura burns the papers denying him visitation rights, and Charlie joins Scott on the sleigh to deliver the remaining presents to children around the world. Merry Christmas.
Jolly stuff.
Now, what did you think of the Santa Claus?
I quite liked it mostly. I think it's a very strong concept. The idea that you would have to take on the role of Father Christmas if you put him out of action, however that happens.
Yeah.
But the last 15 minutes was torturous. right? You explained it succinctly by like, oh, they found him and decide he's Father Christmas, and then he leaves, right?
Yeah.
This is what actually happens in bullet points.
Mm-hmm.
He kidnaps the child. They go around the world, which the entire world throughout the movie is represented as either the North Pole or New York City.
Yeah.
The police ambush him in the one place that he logically can't be, because they like surround the house that he stole the child from. And then he goes down the chimney as part of his rounds.
Yeah.
And they find him there. So they're like, oh, let's take him in. So then these other elves show up and like break him out.
Yeah.
Then he returns to the place he was just arrested at. And that's when the mum's like, oh, he is Santa. He hasn't done anything to demonstrate that other than...
He gives her a present.
That's right at the end.
Oh, that's right at the end.
Yeah. There's nothing. There's just like, she just decides... Like she has a good look at him and it's like, oh, he does look like Santa.
Yeah.
It must be him.
Surely it's also like, oh, he's been and come back from the North Pole on a sleigh with a load of reindeer that are now parked on my roof.
The dad doesn't believe that he's Santa. Then he believes he's Santa for a second. He's like, it is you. And then seconds later, he's like, get him out of my house again, right?
Yeah.
But because he's Santa, the mother destroys the custodial papers because looking enough like Santa Claus to pass as him is reason that you can look after a kid. Then he says he's leaving the kid behind to be with the parents because it's Christmas and they need to share his custody.
Yeah.
And there's a big hoo-ha made about that. Then there's a gigantic street party, which is attended by like sleeper cell elves who aren't the ones who... They look like they're just like there.
Yeah.
That's nonsense.
And they're just there to see what Santa going off.
Looks like.
Yeah.
And then there's a massive deal made about like, oh, you have to stay with your parents. So he goes off on his own. And seconds later, the kid's like shaking his snow globe. He's like, oh, my dad, she needs to come back. And then he's like, come with me. And the mum's like, yeah, you go.
Yeah,
we just
fine.
had this big fight and an agreement was drawn. But fuck it, the film needs you to go off with him. So
yeah. Is that how visitation rights work? If you burn the one copy, then...
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, there's no other record of it.
Yeah. It's nonsense.
It's very strange.
He's not fit to raise a child. He's too busy.
Yeah.
Too bloody busy.
I mean, that aside, I think it's a fairly enjoyable family romp, isn't it? Christmas romp.
Fairly.
Has all the usual traits of a family Christmas film and of a Disney film that was made in the 1990s that stars live action actors, which is that a beloved sitcom actor is playing a schlubby but apparently lovable father.
Yeah. Are there examples of that?
Just like, well, it would be like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids,
right?
Or,
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Broken family reunited in some fashion by the end.
Yeah, high-powered business people all round.
Mm-hmm.
She left her CEO husband for a successful psychiatrist.
Yeah, exactly. Bad CGI.
Lots of it.
Yeah. Plenty of yuck jokes.
Meaning?
Like ones that look like things that Tim Allen would write.
Right, okay.
Like as in, cultural references that are now sorely out of date.
Yeah.
Gender and sexual politics that are now sorely out of date.
Yeah.
All those sorts of jokes that were jokes for the adults, basically. Including some rather strange and borderline inappropriate ones. There's plenty of stuff about him beating up the new husband, all that sort of stuff, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's those sorts of things that I mean. But aside from that, there's a pretty saccharine tone throughout.
Yeah. It's like a stick of rock.
Yeah.
Hard on the outside, but sweet on the inside.
Yeah, it reminds me of Christmas classic Elf, but without the abundance of charm that Elf has.
Yeah, without any of the jokes.
Yes, yeah. And without Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
But Joe, this is the How to Survive podcast, so let's now discuss the world this film paints in painstaking detail, please.
Yeah.
Here are some facts that the film presents us with. Santa Claus is real, as is the function of the North Pole.
Yeah.
Santa's elf,
which is a literal pole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which conceals a button.
Yeah.
To open a hanger. Santa's elf helpers are real, his reindeer are real, and the good and naughty lists are real. Individuals are bound by enforcement by something called the Santa Clause, wherein any individual who finds the Santa Claus card and then dons the Santa uniform is compelled to become the new Santa Claus.
Against their will.
Against their will. The North Pole functions as a base of operations for Santa Claus himself and the present dispensary system, including lodgings for the incumbent Santa Claus. Just a quick question at this juncture. Is there any sort of vetting procedure to decide in terms of how they pick the Santa?
I know what you mean, because he could be anyone. He could be a nutter.
Yeah.
But the thing...
He could be someone who should not be allowed magical access to every home with a child in the world.
Yeah, but it seems like the individual goes through some level of hormonal change where they become, compelled to be nice to everyone.
Yeah.
Like, at the beginning, he's a bit of a Scrooge.
Right, yeah. So he undergoes a personality transformation as well as a physical one.
Like, when a pregnant woman watches a TV show about kids and he's like crying because they're like, they're fitting the
because they're pathetic. And
yeah. It's like that. Yeah, Santa Claus is pathetic like a pregnant woman.
Yeah. And of course, that the one fact presented by the film is that the appearance of Santa Claus as we traditionally know him is actually a sort of curse, which begins an actual and irreversible physical transformation of the subject, including the sudden and dramatic weight gain that we see, hair growth at an extremely fast rate, and hair discoloration. Now, is this the only Christmas body horror movie?
Did Krampus have any body horror?
I don't think so. No, that was more like toys coming to life.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be. It's pretty unpleasant. Imagine that. You just wake up and you're like 20 stone heavier than you were before.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess, do you
think there are certain health risks associated with the transformation that he undergoes?
Well, I was thinking that there would be, but he goes for a checkup. And the doctor's like, no, you're fit as a fiddle.
But that's right at the early stages.
Right.
Because presumably it would eventually have a sort of taxing effect on his heart.
If you keep eating this way, you're going to get...
Because he suddenly gets much heavier, right? So it would be like he... his body might just feel like it's carrying a heavy load for a couple of days or whatever, a week or something. And then over the course of... an extended period of time, that's going to put
joints
extra
wear out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I took the liberty of looking up the health risks associated with staggering sudden weight gain, which you won't be surprised to know are the same risks as with any weight gain, because the sudden aspect of it only really applies. There would be specific health risks if it was something like a tumour that was the weight.
What
that
if
was
you
being
suddenly
gained.
got a 20-stone tumour?
Yeah, exactly. But if you're overweight, you have increased risk of diabetes, gallbladder or kidney stones, heart disease, stroke, some cancers, osteoarthritis, gout, and breathing problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is not good.
He is... I mean, you look at him at the end and you think this is a man who doesn't live well.
No. Do you think they had to initiate this Santa Claus to because there was such a high rate of turnover among Santas?
Maybe that Santa at the beginning threw himself from the roof.
Yeah. Well, we'll come to that. Yeah. Of course, he also undergoes a certain amount of hair growth, which is called hirsutism.
Yeah, hirsutism.
Yeah. Hirsutism is caused by an excess of male hormones called androgens in your body, or by your body being more sensitive to these hormones. In many cases, it's not clear why this happens.
Yeah.
So does that imply that becoming Santa Claus changes Scott on a hormonal level?
That's what I was suggesting earlier.
Yeah.
But then you'd suggest that if he was going fully testosterone fueled, then he wouldn't be as caring about children. He just want to fight everyone.
But it's not testosterone. It's these androgens, which I believe are they're separate from testosterone. I believe a similar thing sometimes happens to women when they undergo the menopause.
Right. Okay. They suddenly put on 20 stone and grow a big bushy beard.
That's right. Yeah.
And start flying reindeer around.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, Joe, why does he have to change physically?
Yeah, well, it's a weird one. Because
I've got one idea, but I'm interested to hear your thoughts first.
So it's recognisability, isn't it? It's the brand.
Okay, so you think it's a branding exercise?
Yeah, the Pope has to wear the hat, right?
Right, I see.
If he didn't wear the hat, he'd
and
just be
riding
some
a
guy.
little boxmobile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the minimum.
Okay.
Obviously, like, the Pope doesn't have to live in the Vatican, but if he doesn't wear his hat, you don't know who he is.
Yeah, okay, he's just a guy.
He's
Just an old guy.
Just some old guy.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
I do understand what you mean, yeah. I'd like to propose a more survival-themed reason. Both hirsutism and weight gain could be to insulate him from the cold of the North Pole.
That's right, yeah.
And from the cold of uncovered air travel during nighttime. Because obviously a big bushy beard, lots of hair, acts as a perfect scarf. And the weight gain would help his organs maintain... Be insulated from the cold.
Like a whale.
Yeah. Do you think that's a coincidence, or do you think I've stumbled on something that actually makes perfect sense as to the depiction of Father Christmas as we know him?
I think Father Christmas as we know him is Coca-Cola design, isn't it?
Do you think?
I think so, yeah. So
they want to normalise...
before Coca-Cola reinvented in red and white.
Okay. So Disney is actually shilling for Coca-Cola.
Yeah, exactly. It's all part of a global conspiracy.
Yeah. Santa
Santa Claus runs the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
It's amazing, isn't it? Sometimes you think you've found like a new interesting brand of food or, restaurant or something like that, or soft drink, and then you do your research and you realise that Santa owns it.
Yeah, Father Christmas owns this. Yeah, as a way of just getting more data on whether you're nice or naughty each year.
Yes, exactly.
That's what GDPR was all about.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you go on a website and it's like, enable cookies.
Yeah,
that's for Santa Claus. And if you say no, don't enable.
Because who do you leave cookies for?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean. It all adds up.
Precisely. Yeah. It's everything's slotting into place. Right, but let's get down to brass tacks. Okay. There are some quite sinister implications about the Santa Claus system.
Yes.
Would you agree?
I do. Yeah. I mean, like, let's just to recap. He falls off the roof.
This is the original Santa.
The original Santa. Yeah. Lands in a heap. With his face obscured, so you don't really get a good look at him, and no sign of life at all.
No,
and then they begin bickering between themselves about what to do. That's Tim Allen and his boy.
Yeah, Scott and Charlie.
Yeah, and in the background, the Santa waves, seemingly at them or the camera. It's not clear whether that wave is a gesture of goodbye, a signal for help, or like a mocking wave because he's like, "That's it, I'm out of here."
Right.
But at that point, he seems to know that it's up, and he's no longer being kept prisoner by whatever.
Yeah,
it binds
the curse is broken,
and at that point, he's literally sucked flat by some invisible force.
Yeah. Now, what the fuck happened to him?
Yeah, is there just a fat naked man running down the street?
Well, here's what I thought was going to happen: was that he would return later in the film.
Like, oh, thank you for looking after it. I needed a year off.
No. It'd be like, there's Scott's walking down the street and there's like a guy, I don't know, like eating 10 hot dinners because he's like so excited to be back in the real world. He's getting a McDonald's because he's like, oh, brilliant, I've missed McDonald's. I haven't been able to have McDonald's in so long. And it would be like, I've got to... Or he would be injured and then Scott has to help him rest up, and while he's resting, Scott has to take over, right? But no, what happens is that the original Santa disappears into the abyss, never to be seen again, and Scott is now... The curse is now with Scott instead.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
What's the moral of this story?
Well, most Christmas films are... The moral is, don't forget the true meaning of Christmas.
Yeah. What is the moral?
The moral of this is just like, don't take your children for granted. Maybe,
I don't know.
Don't take Santa for granted.
Don't take the
use of your legs and back.
Don't not Don't fight your child's father over custody because he might actually be Father Christmas.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
and if that's not a Christmas message that we can all get behind.
like Black Swan last week. What's the moral of that? Moderate your pursuit of perfectionism.
Yeah.
This I do not know. I've studied this film.
Yeah, studied this film.
And I cannot work out what it's trying to say to me.
Yeah. I mean, do you think... here are the options, as I see it. He just disappears. He evaporates.
Gone.
Oblivion. Dead forever. Yeah. He's allowed to return to his old life. We see no evidence of this, right?
Yeah. So somewhere like in Middle America, or anywhere in the world for that matter, because you don't see him talk or anything.
Yeah.
So that's something like French dinner table. There's an old lady there, and this guy just shows up, and he's like, "Oh, it's me. I'm back after like 60 years."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Our kids have like grown up.
I remarried.
Yeah.
I thought you were dead.
Yeah. Where have you been all this time?" And he's like, "Oh no, what happened was
Père Noël.
You just got really fat over a year and then disappeared.
Je suis Père Noël."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she'd be like, "No, that's not one."
Now here's a question for you. If Santa was just unconscious, incapacitated, is it does Scott becoming the new Santa make him disappear?
Right. So he's like,
if he was conscious, he'd be like, "Don't read that. I'll disappear into the oblivion." Just a black void where millions of Santas exist.
I think it's deliberate. The way of thinking about it, right? He doesn't have to like dig around in his pockets for that. It's like placed neatly inside his lapel.
So Scott is the chump.
Yeah.
He's the fool guy.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Because the guy must have jumped from the roof. And then it's like a note, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's like
it's a business card, isn't it? It's like the equivalent of a penicillin bracelet or something like that.
Yeah, he wanted it to be found.
Yeah.
It wasn't hidden.
No.
Does Scott carry that card?
Well, he must do, presumably.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's 2 sequels to the Santa Claus, Joe, so...
Yeah. Is Tim Allen in both?
Yeah. Yeah, big time.
Nice. Seen him?
No.
So the elves, as you mentioned, they are played by children of varying ages.
Yeah.
Which suggests that there is an aging process in elf land.
Yeah.
But it's also suggested that some of the younger looking ones are thousands of years old, but they all look like children.
Right. But is it just like elf years? So they're thousands of years old in human years, but in elf years that's like 5.
Maybe. But then, there's no elf children. There's no one just like, oh, someone's looking after the kids. There's no shot of the nursery school. But there are a bunch of elves like peeking into Scott's bedroom, if you remember, when he arrives. And then they get told to like shoo, get away. Now those elves who are gawping into the bedroom are either going to be elf children because they're they're excitable, or they're elves who are mentally limited and kind of like, oh, what's in there, right?
Or just curious.
Have you ever looked in someone's bedroom?
No, but the road I thought you were going to go down is that they were perverts.
No, I don't think so. I don't think they're looking. They're looking because they're just like, oh, shiny. Do you know what I mean? So I think there's...
Correct me if I'm wrong. The lady elf who serves him some cocoa, right? There's like a sort of odd, flirty tone to their conversation, which, given that she's played by
like an 8-year-old,
an 8-year-old girl,
it's fucked up.
That's the sort of strange joke that I meant.
It's so strange. It's so uncomfortable to watch it. But in the same level as like thinking about the rules of the Santa, right? If you've got adults in your society of elves who look exactly like all the children in your society of elves, there's going to be problems.
Is this not just, people being able to distinguish their own kind? Do you know what I mean?
Right. So
to us, all the elves look the same.
Right. I guess like a kitten looks like a cat to you. Right. I mean, if it's a big kitten, for instance. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just...
I agree with you in that...
It begs more questions than it answers.
Yeah, exactly. And there's some disturbing implications, I would say, particularly about the life cycle and and maybe the family trees of these elves.
Yeah, they're thousands of years old. They've got to have a bit of wisdom. It goes with that, you'd think.
But then doesn't that depend on your perception of time? Because maybe the reason they appear simple is because they're experiencing life at thousands of times the rate that we are.
Maybe so.
They may have been alive for 1,000 years, but to them it's only been 8 years in what humans understand to be time.
I don't know, mate. You've blown my mind. This Bernard,
Yeah,
he's like 2 or 3 feet taller than most of them because
he's head elf. Yeah,
he's an adult man.
Yeah, well, he's a
teenager.
Yeah.
So how old is he? And where's the other elves that are like him?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Like the sharp talking Bronx.
Are they
elves.
bound by an elf clause?
I don't know.
Are they bred for this purpose, or is it a?
Yeah.
Is it a voluntary position? It's impossible to say, isn't it? It's really.
This could be a nice way to lead on to how to survive.
Okay.
Right. So my advice is for the elves.
Okay.
And as far as I can tell from what we just talked about, right, the elves are looking at thousands of years of indentured servitude, right? The elves don't appear to be making any money out of their work. It's charity.
Yeah.
Which means how are they subsiding? How are they surviving? You know, it takes thousands of years of round-the-clock attention to be able to produce these, you know, toys and things, right? They live in awe and servitude of an unelected leader.
Yeah.
Some guy who just happened to fall into that role. Nepotism. It's not even nepotism. It's just like just some guy who they have to treat as a king. They risk life and limb to save him when he gets arrested. And
exposure, not to mention
exactly,
that.
Yeah. And there's no reason other than that their mission demands that they do that. You know, it's nonsense. What we've got here is an oppressed class of workers.
Yeah.
With a military-industrial complex, forced to wage a hidden crusade on a global scale. Because if you may remember earlier, there's a bit of calculation that happens. There's a little throwaway line from the child, who says, well, we don't have to do every house because, you know, not everyone believes in Christmas.
Right.
Not even celebrate Christmas, which means that these elves are doing all this work, waging a war and giving presents only to people who celebrate Christmas, which is Christians.
Yes.
So
the Western world.
They're working to the not just the Western world, but like Christians in the Western world.
Right.
Or So what we've got here is a war against non-Christians, which is a crusade.
Okay.
So these were elves and they're
indentured slaves being forced to work in service of a crusade.
Yeah. But for the supposed benefit of the people who don't need it. Do you know what I mean? The mission they seem to be following is, well, if we don't do it, these kids aren't going to get presents.
Yeah.
But the kids don't need presents. Their parents can buy them presents.
Yeah.
This is just fucked up.
That is fucked up. So what's your bit of advice?
Just fucking rise up.
Have an uprising.
Praxis.
So presumably either Bernard is with them or against them. And Bernard's going to get overwhelmed quickly, isn't he?
He's compliant.
Yeah.
He seems to be the land baron. Do you know what I mean?
and in some ways it's a lot like Schindler's List in that they have the means to produce the tools for their survival. Because if they're making toys, you know, they could be altering the designs to double as weaponry for their fight.
That doesn't happen in Schindler's List, just so you know.
No, I know, but there's a similar factory production line sabotage element.
Yes, exactly. So if they made the toys,
this came out I think a couple of years after Schindler's List, so it's possible that was an influence.
Yeah, I think it probably was.
Yeah.
In many ways, what the film needs is an Oscar Schindler.
Yeah, someone to lead the uprising.
Yeah,
and save someone to be thinking, I could have saved more about the elves.
Yeah. And a shot at the end of the movie.
They came for the elves, and I said nothing.
So who's the Eamon Goth in this? So
either Bernard or Santa. Presumably.
Yeah, right. But Santa doesn't seem to be like particularly clued up. He's more like Hitler because he's like you take care of it.
Right.
I don't care how you take care of it.
So
Just take care
Bernard is Goth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you are right.
Yeah. I don't see any way. Like, so this is what we got here is a remake of Schindler's List.
Yes. Yeah.
Lacking Schindler.
Repackaged.
Yeah. Santa's List.
Mm.
There's even the indexing of people. There's hundreds and hundreds of people, and essentially they decide who gets it, and who doesn't, who will be saved.
Yeah.
Deciding.
Who the chosen class will be and who will be left behind. Sobering stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know how to survive that though. How do
I think leading uprising,
internalized like problems.
Leading uprising. I think you're absolutely right. We don't know the political situation of the North Pole.
The North Pole and liberate them. Do we have a role? Do we have a
Well, we're not. It's not our place to police the world, but sometimes injustice is so great that it necessitates. If all avenues with the elf overlords have been closed off, all diplomatic avenues, then if they're not willing to change their ways, then perhaps force is the only alternative. And it's a distasteful thing to think about.
Yeah.
But
the elven people will want to. They need to be liberated.
Yes,
and I'd sign up tomorrow to protect them.
Well, I mean, mine is similarly well thought out, Joe, which is that you should wear a harness while you're on rooftops.
Right. Okay. Why?
Because it will stop you from falling off.
Why doesn't it? But Tim Robbins, Tim Allen, Tim Robbins,
Scott,
Tim Robbins. Who's Tim Robbins?
It's Tim Allen. Tim Robbins is in Shawshank Redemption.
Tim Robbins. Tim Allen.
Yeah.
He doesn't wear one at any point.
No, and he's seen the risks as well.
The sack seems to protect him.
Yeah, but
he just floats around wherever he wants with that sack.
That's true. Yeah. Why did? Yeah.
Which makes me think even more that it was an elected decision by the other Father Christmas.
This can't be the first time this has happened to a Santa Claus.
Well, so the only option is for the last like several thousand years. How almost like the first St. Nicholas, like some Turkish guy who was going around giving presents to kids, and became a saint because of it.
Yeah,
that's the first Santa Claus.
Okay,
and when was that, like 1100?
Yeah,
so you're like at 800, 900 years, something like that. Mm-hmm. So these elves existed before that as well. Bear in mind, they're thousands of years old. So it's a Willy Wonka situation,
right? So he has found these indigenous people, this indigenous population,
Oompa Loompa land, and enslaved them.
Yeah, pretty sinister stuff. The only other point that I had was maybe for whoever the administrators of the whole Santa Claus situation are, and that's just to incentivize being Santa Claus. So it's not a curse. It's a role that people will
sign up for.
Yeah, exactly.
Apply for.
There's no reason that they need to maintain this, slave system that they're operating.
No, of course.
Apart from maybe profit, which history tells us is the big motivation in the dehumanization of the, abused class in slave trades.
Of course, yeah. I mean, it's all profit. But I don't see where if I was brought in as business manager of the North Pole, I don't know where they're making money. They're producing, but there's no transaction to it. It's just giving.
So in many ways, it's probably an outdated system anyway.
Well, I mean,
what they should get into is making apps, Joe, because they could dispense apps for free.
Yeah,
but then also feature paid advertising.
Of course. I mean, the one thought is that it could be a lost leader in order to promote a particular agenda. So you get people buying.
I've got it. I know exactly what they're doing. You're right. It's a lost leader, but it's to get the image and word of Santa Claus out, and then they have licensing. They make residuals on the image of Santa Claus.
That's smart.
So Coca-Cola are actually paying serious bunts for
to get these like toy cars made and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Kayaks.
Yeah.
So that was supposed to be like a funny scene in the movie where he's like sticking the kayak in the. It's just like tedious. Yeah. Because there's better ways to do it than he does.
Yes, indeed. Any more thoughts, Joe?
No, I'm bereft of any thoughts.
Well, thank you very much for joining us for this festive episode. I think we've kept up the festive energy throughout, Joe. I'm sure you would agree.
I'm struggling against the cold. If that's not come through, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, now is the time to rest up in front of a roaring fire. Have some cocoa.
Yeah.
And
some cocaine.
Yeah, all that if you want. Probably, I know it would probably clog your airways, wouldn't it?
How do you do it? You know, it seems to know a lot about it.
Well, it's all my time in the North Pole working in the sweatshops.
What are you getting for Christmas? What you asked for?
A few films.
Good ones?
No. Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
How about you?
I don't remember. Some shoes or something.
Well, Santa.
What do you get? The manual is everything.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure Santa will be winging his way.
Do you know what I really want for Christmas? Some reviews.
Yes.
It's been like
very good.
A month. Yeah. A month since we had a review.
Yeah, and this is the spirit. It's the season of goodwill, and it's the season of giving. So
it's embarrassing, but not for me. It's embarrassing for these listeners who are just having a free ride.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing in this life is free, even podcasts.
Just give us a review. 5 stars. Thank you very much. Happy Christmas. That's what you got to say. Happy Christmas. 5 stars. Like, what are you going to do tomorrow? Sit with your family and like bicker about what to put on TV?
Yeah.
Well, don't. Just walk out the room, sit in the garden, and send us reviews. And also suggest movies to watch. That's HowToSurviveShow@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Or Twitter @HowToSurvivePod.
Yeah, perfect. So thank you very much. Merry Christmas Eve. Hope you have a wonderful day tomorrow if you're celebrating.
Maybe you're travelling today. Well, drive carefully or travel carefully.
Yeah, please do. Yeah. Wear snow chains if appropriate.
Yeah.
Only in the snow.
Don't fall off the roof.
Yeah, wear a harness when on the roof. And please do not enslave an entire population of a maligned class of individuals. Because that is not very Christmassy at all. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Merry Christmas.